Welcome to Yoga 101 for college students. My name is Ashley, and I'm here to share with you, specifically those of you at Minnesota State University Moorhead, a Yoga for Beginners 30-minute class. I graduated several years ago, and I actually taught yoga and fitness at the MSUM Wellness Center. So I'm very much familiar with you guys as college kids, and I remember what it was like myself as a college student, and that's actually how I got into yoga. I won't go into the full story, but I signed up for the PE class, the yoga class, for 2 credits, first and second half of the semester, my senior year at MSUM. I did it because I thought it would make me more flexible and a better college athlete, and in the end, what I found was so much more than that. But it takes some time and consistency of practice. You're not going to feel it right away, so right away this might be a little uncomfortable. And that's expected. It's different. It's something that you haven't maybe done before, and some of these poses don't come naturally to you. So do your best and make sure that you take breaks when you need. And even if you just want to watch through this and get familiar with some of these yoga concepts, that's great too. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What you'll need, or maybe need, you can actually do this without any props, not even a yoga mat. So you could do this just on your living room floor. Another prop you could have is a strap. If you don't have a specific yoga strap, then you can use something like a belt or a scarf. And then I also have here a couple of blocks, but you don't need blocks either. What works well if you want to use a prop like this is actually like boxes or cans of pop or whatever else is in those cans. So cans, you can put those like big boxes, they're about the same height and they're heavier, so they're stabilizing on the floor. And those could be used for some of our lunges and some of our poses where you need to lift the floor a little higher so that we can find more stability and more strength without compromising our form, trying to get into a pose too deep. All right, so we're gonna set those aside. Let's start in a simple seated pose, just to get into the beginning of our practice. And for you, crossed legs might not be comfortable. So you can sit on a prop or a pillow, or you can take your legs out in front of you. Depends on how your knees are doing. So there's a lot of ways to get into an easy seated pose, and that's exactly what this is. Notice how you can lengthen your spine, so sit up a little taller through the upper body. Imagine someone pulling a string from the top of your head up to the ceiling. And we're going to rest our hands wherever is comfortable for you today. I like to take backs of the wrists to the knees with the palms facing up as a symbol of being open hands, open palms, open to whatever I'm receiving, open to what the day has to bring. Palms down if you need a little bit more grounding, introvertedness. And then you can also choose to take your hands in your lap. So wherever's comfortable. Your eyes, your gaze, your drishti, often called in yoga terms. Your eyes can be closed, or you could be looking down if that's more comfortable. Take a little shoulder roll back and down to find a little bit more length through the spine. And we sit. We become mindful. Yoga in its definition comes from the word to yoke or to connect or union or unite. So we're getting deeper by connecting to yourself and also connecting to that everything around you and becoming more aware. So this is a practice of awareness. And when life gets stressful, it can be very helpful to come back to your center, to become more aware of your current surroundings and what's happening here and now. It's said that when we are stressed, it's worrying about the future. When we're feeling anxious, it's future-based. When we are depressed, it's us concerned and thinking too much of the past, where our yoga practice helps us find that middle in the present. Out of anxiety, out of depression, and into right now. No judgments, no labels, right here, right now. So we sit. Close your eyes or look down and just start to notice your breath. Your breath is one thing that we do unconsciously that we can bring awareness towards to help us stay right here, right now. It's the one thing that's happening within the body without movement, except the movement of the belly as it rises and falls. This practice is going to help those of you who sit a little bit too much each day, help you to find more space and expansion in any stuck areas of your body. Help you to find more peace and calm in any anxious times or space within your mind. Notice your breath. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. Same duration, inhale and exhale. Can you extend that exhale? When I first practiced this seated breath work, simple noticing, another thing I notice is it's uncomfortable to sit for so long. My back started hurting. I got fidgety. Our practice here is to become aware and notice the discomfort and see if we can ride those waves with our breath. Stay present, stay there. And even though that we're uncomfortable, we can maintain this breath and stay still. And just take a couple more deep breaths, maybe deeper this time, expanding your belly like a balloon. And if your eyes are closed, you can bring them open again. And if all you did each day was to work on noticing your breath and taking deeper breaths as you come into this present moment, you will for sure be more open, feel better through the day, and a little bit more calm when things start to get crazy chaotic. So we're sitting in our seated pose again. We'll start with some movement. So we like to go with our warm-up, starting with our head and working our way down the body. So we'll keep it simple by taking the chin down to the chest and working some rotation through the neck. So right ear to right shoulder or left ear to left shoulder, and you bring that head around. Back and forth, shoulders back. Finally getting into some movement. If your legs are feeling a little uncomfortable, or if you want to add a little something, you can switch the crossing of the legs and notice how that makes a difference. We have a tendency to favor one side. So what if we did the other side? And then take your head back up and a simple twist through the neck. Look over your right shoulder and then look over your left shoulder. And back to the center. Now we're going to work down into the spine. We move in different directions of the spine, and by sitting stagnant and still, it's very difficult to find some, space within the spine and the core. Your spine is sort of the gateway from all the information from your head to the rest of your body. So you want to keep the muscles that wrap around the spine safe and strong, also mobile, so we're able to move in different directions. So we'll do the 6 directions of the spine. Let's reach those arms up. Starting with our lateral bends, take one hand down to the floor, other hand reaches across. Press the elbow back, maybe look up. We've got our side bend, lateral bend. Lengthen through also this, the side that the hand is down, lengthen up a little bit more. Soften the shoulder, maybe inch the fingers farther to the side. Good, lift it back up, find an inhale. As you reach back up, exhale, other hand down, and we bring it over to our side bend. Be very mindful with that side bend, maybe inching the fingertips farther. Look up, press the thumb back. So we're going straight to the side, but a little openness through the heart. And lift it back up. And next 2 directions, let's add a twist. One hand to the knee, other hand to the base of the back. Without forcing or pressing, Just twisting, using that core strength in tall posture. Look over that back shoulder. Maintaining that deep breath and just a few deep breaths. Good, back to the center. Take an inhale, reach up. Exhale to the side. And even if you just make it through 10 minutes of this video each day, you're still getting the benefits of that daily yoga practice, breath work, and moving that spine. Let's reach back up. Now let's use those 4 different directions and go side to side. So reach and inhale, side bend, exhale. Inhale, reach up, side bend, exhale. Inhale, reach up, twist, other side, or switch the first side, exhale. Inhale, reach up, and side bend, exhale. Inhale, reach up. Now we're going to head to forward and back bends, our last 2 directions, by taking your hands forward and rolling over the hands and the knees and heading towards, let's go, tabletop position. So the hands are underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. Cat and cow pose. We arch the back. This is our little back bend. Exhales, you round the back. So we're actually just going to use our breath and flow through those 2 poses. Cat and cow, or pelvic tilt, posterior and anterior tilting, retraction and protraction of the shoulders. And then bring it back to a neutral position. Neutral meaning belly in, and you've got a straight line from the crown of the head through your tailbone. Now from here, we're going to add on a few, and we'll get to a couple standing poses towards the middle of our practice. So let's walk the hands forward just a little bit, about in front of the shoulders. Spread the fingertips wide so that the fingertips are pressing down, and that second knuckle lifts up just a little bit. So you're creating like a little suction cup. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips, or lift the knees and hips, and start to shift your body weight back into the feet. Relax the neck so that the ears are between the biceps. Now I know that it can be tempting to crank your neck and try to look at me and see what I'm doing. That's where the first time that you do this might be a little challenging or difficult and stressful on the neck. So be very mindful or careful of that. Hopefully we won't be in a pose too much that you can't see me. So in this downward facing dog, what we call it, keep those knees bent and add a little pedal out of the feet. Bending one knee at a time. And then from down dog, we'll come back to this pose a couple more times later. Let's walk the feet forward just behind the hands. We call this pose ragdoll pose because we're just hanging out. So we bend the knees a little bit into this forward fold. It helps to lengthen out the back. Do not worry so much about straight legs. That's not what we're going for. Shake out the head, grab opposite elbows, and relax, hang out. This pose here, it's a mild inversion. So your head's below your heart's below the hips, typically. And it helps with cultivating creativity. So if you're feeling kind of blocked or maybe stressed out or needing some clarity, some creativity, you can come into this forward fold, upside down, and hang out a while. Sway from side to side. Gonna release your hands, bend the knees, and bring your hands up your legs, or roll your body up to a standing position. Nice job. Let's take it to the top of our mat in a standing position. Top of our mat, or really standing wherever you are. So your feet, let's take them hip distance apart today. Notice the feet, the toes, the heels. Press down through all 5 toes. So press down through the big toe, pinky toe, kind of like spreading your hands and pressing down. Can you spread your toes and then press them down? Then get equal weight through your heels, your big toe, and your pinky toe, that little foot triangle. Lifting up Continuing, let's engage the quads. This is our mountain pose. It's a nice and strong pose. Engaging the quads, almost like they're lifting up slightly. Pull the belly in just a little bit, just enough if someone poked you, you go, oh, goodness. All right, belly in. So not creating like clenched abs, but just enough to be a little taller. Relax your backside, and we're moving up the body. Abs in, shoulders back, and relax the shoulders. Palms down, hands down, and your head nice and tall. Again, a string pulling from the crown of the head to the top. Face those palms forward. Forward. This is one of our versions of mountain pose. Palms reach up. Take a big breath in. Connect the hands at the top, and then draw the hands down to your heart. This position called Anjali Mudra, the hand gesture of gratitude and appreciation. And that's what can help anytime we're feeling overwhelmed. Gratitude, appreciation. Hands come down. Again, reach those arms up. And hands come down to your heart. Do that once more. Reach up, big circle of the arms. Hands to your heart. I'm going to take this and make it pretty simple with a couple lunges or versions of lunges. So let's take our left leg, step back into a lunge. Our lunge, our shoulders are over the hips. And if you're familiar with any kind of athletics at all, lunges are a very common pose or movement or exercise that we do. So a little bend in the back knee is fine. Straighten, you're going to feel more in the hip flexor and the quad of that back leg. Front knee is not over the toes, instead shift it back so it's directly over the ankle. And let's bring those arms up. Let's try this. We're going to counteract some of that sitting all day, right? So we bend the elbows and pull it back, opening the chest and the shoulders, squeezing the back of the body. Inhale, lift up. Maybe straighten the legs a little bit. Exhale, pull down. One more time, reach up. Exhale, pull down, bending that knee. Now take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, press the palms together and down, and look up. Okay, we'll get into a balanced pose. I know this is going to be maybe a little challenging, we'll see. We're going to straighten that leg just a little, lean forward, bend the back knee, step forward, up, up, up. Let's see if we can lift that toe off the ground. Could rebend that right knee. That's a version of Warrior 3. It could be here or toe just off. Step it back. Release the hands. Take them to your hips. Try something different here. Let's take that back heel, spin it downward. Turn the hips all the way to the side without collapsing that front knee. So leave that open. Right toes or front toes facing the edge of the long edge of wherever you are. Back heel is down, hips are open. Level, shoulders over the hips, and open the arms. We've got our Warrior 2 pose. Look over the front fingertips, and you might separate the legs a little bit more, or you can keep them closer too, and it depends on how your breath is doing. All right, straighten that front leg. Once again, step in a little bit with that back foot. Step in a little bit. Triangle pose is a common pose we do. Reach long. Take that right hand down that leg. Left arm reaching straight up. You might turn that back heel a little farther to the back so the toes point more forward. So you get equal length through both the right and the left sides of the body. You should be feeling the front hamstring, a little bit on this back hip. Not so much the side bend. Good, lifting it back up, bend that front knee, rise up. We've got to switch sides. So what we're going to do from here is pivot the feet to this star position, then other toes to the back, and you can actually, if you want to switch sides, just step forward, step back, so you can see me, that's great too. Then lift that back heel so the hips face the direction that you want them to face. Bend that front knee. Good, this back leg, you're feeling the hip flexor. Reach those arms up. And at the same time, we're pulling that front heel back while the toes, the ball, the foot of the back foot is pulling forward. So you get this pull in and everything coming up to the midline of the body, to that center point, the pelvis, the core region. That's the origin of all the movements that we do. Let's do those elbow arm pulls. Make a little goal post as you press back. Exhale. Inhale, maybe stand a little bit higher. Exhale, pull down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull down. Inhale, reach up. And hands behind the back. Can you take opposite thumb on top, pressing down, palms together. Good, lean forward. Bend into that back knee, shift forward. Let's do a little bit of a balance pose. Okay, kind of a big balance pose. Can you flex that back foot? And it's okay to fall over. Look down beyond the nose to the floor. One thing we don't want to do here is open up the hips, so keep the toes facing the ground. And then step it back once again. Take your hands on your hips. Back heel spins down to the floor. Turn the hips, turn the body facing flat. Knee open, hips level. And that back foot is about a 90-degree angle. Open those arms. Warrior two. Look over the left fingertips or the front leg fingertips. Warrior two. So this might be uncomfortable too. You might need a shoulder roll here. So the purpose of beginner yoga practice is not necessarily that it's going to be very easy. It's to introduce you to some of these poses and allow you some time and space to feel into them, to see and notice what your body has, if we're able to hold, if and when our mind starts to wander. Just notice those fluctuations. Okay, straighten that front leg. Might step in a little with that back foot. I always do. Reach it long as first, look towards the left hand, and then tilt triangle pose. And this is where you could use a block. I usually just use my hand on my leg. Good, then lift back up. Bending into that front knee. And pivot, actually straighten the leg now, pivot to this wide star position. Hands on your hips. Take a deep breath in. And fold it down, wide forward fold. We're going to get into a pose that's sort of fun, or sometimes kind of fun, but can be a little interesting. So let's heel to those feet closer together, not all the way, a little wider than your hips. Turn the toes out slightly, bend the knees, and lower into a squat. Great, squat position. So before we get to our cool down, our last pose, feel those hips kind of move around a little bit. You can stay right here. This is a great place to gain flexibility, hip openness, get into all of what's going on here, even stretching out in the back, hands at prayer center. Or we can go for a little bit of a fun arm balance. It's called crow pose. So I'll show you from a side view, just slightly. So the elbows and hands are kind of wide. It's going to create a nice little base. Hands come down, elbows stay bent, hands down, about shoulder distance, maybe a tiny bit wider. Lift the heels so you get up a little higher. Round in the back, it's going to help. Look forward. Instead of tucking the chin and looking down, look forward beyond where you are. So imagine yourself shifting way forward. You have to look forward to shift forward. Shift forward so your elbows stack over the wrists. Lift onto just the big toes. Maybe take one foot up or two and toes together. And then the knees are on the elbows or the triceps. And there's not a lot of core strength activation here. It's just finding a balance point on wide fingertips and hugging the knees towards the body. So you can try that crow pose. Sometimes it's just fun to find a little bit of a lift off. So we go back, crow pose, whee, and then we're down. So good job with that. From there, we're going to sit down. We got just a few minutes left. So let's take that strap as an option. If you don't have one, that's okay. Straighten the legs out in front of you. Sit up nice and tall. Strap or no strap, that will go around the feet. If you feel that you have, not so much length in the hamstrings, a strap would be nice. So we take a deep breath and then pull it forward. So rather than rounding the back and trying to get anywhere, lift a little taller. This will help your posture, I promise, as you, do your seated poses, as you sit a lot longer for your schoolwork and everything else you're doing. Maybe playing video games for a big duration of time. So let's shoulders back, chest lifted, and work into the hamstring length and long spine. Less about nose to knees. Good, lifting up out of this one. And you are welcome to push pause and hold longer if that feels okay for you. You're gonna lift up. Keep the strap around the right toes. Take the left foot into the inner thigh. A little bit more of the hip opening for that left side. Turn directly over that right leg, and we can pull it down. Same thing, not down, but lifted and lengthened. Keeping the body activated, so pressing through the heel, not letting go of the strength that you're building, at the same time flexibility you're cultivating. Okay, lift up out of that, just a few breaths, and we'll switch to the other side. This pose is typically, I think it's called head to knee pose, but I don't like to call it that because I don't want your head coming to your knee. So with or without a strap, lift up tall first, inhale. Exhale, shifting forward, heart over the leg, gazing towards the toes. Try to get your nose towards your toes. I mean, they're not going to touch, but that's the direction. All right, lift back up after the few breaths, and we can get rid of our strap. Take those feet together, knees open wide, holding onto the feet. Take a deep breath in. And this might be your place to stay, or that slight lean forward, just like we did in our other poses. All right, lift it back up. Take the knees together. We've got a couple more minutes, so we're then going to lower down to our backs. So toes to the top of the mat if you've got a mat. Reach forward and roll yourself down, using your core strength to get there. Let's get a little more into the hips. Just one more hip stretch by taking that right knee over the left ankle, pressing the knee away from you so you feel the rotation in the hip. Hands will grab the left thigh or the left shin as you pull the legs up towards your body. And before we switch sides, we'll add one more pose to this mini 2-pose sequence. So let that left foot hit the ground again. Hug the right knee in close to you. Extend the left leg forward. And let's take that right leg across the body. So you lift up onto that left hip. Right leg comes across. Open up the arm, opposite arm. And we do a supine spinal twist. Great for neutralizing the spine, the body, and just relaxation. And then switch sides, bring that right leg back up, give it another little knee hug, and then switch. Left ankle over the right knee, hug the shin or the thigh, pull it in. It's a reclined figure 4, sometimes called a pigeon pose, but as always with any pose, the names, not so important. The names are just labels. It's what you're feeling, how your breath is, that matters. How connected you can become. Okay, let that right foot come to the ground, left knee hugs in. Extend the right leg on the ground. We'll take a twist through the left side. And then back to the center. Hug that left knee in, and then both knees hug in. Little hugs. And place both feet on the ground. We'll just do one time a simple bridge pose, a nice way to reopen our bodies and also activate the backs of the bodies. We've been stretching it out quite a bit. So palms down, knees bent, hip distance. Press into the feet and lift those hips. Then maybe the mid-back, squeeze the shoulders, keep the palms pressing down. We don't need lots of glute activation as you press into the feet, activating the hamstrings. And you can notice different muscles that activate if you squeeze or release. Can you relax a bit more in the face, the jaw, the eyebrows, and lower that back down. Take the feet a little wider and just for a moment, knees windshield wiper side to side. And from here, we are heading to our final pose, the best pose of our practice and often the most challenging. And we'll just be here for about a minute. It's called Shavasana in Sanskrit, or you can call it relaxation or just simple rest. So you extend the legs, let the feet fall open, and hands rest by your side. Close your eyes and start to grow a bit heavier. This pose is used as a transition from your yoga practice into your life. It's a time to reset, to absorb what we just took in, and move on. But first, quiet, relaxation, allowing your body to melt, and enjoying this time of peace with no expectations, no to-do lists, nothing to do except be here right now. And we'll take about 1 minute here and come out of it together. All right, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Taking a deep breath in. Reach your hands overhead. And then hug your knees to your chest. A couple ways you can come up to a seated pose. You can simply rock and roll up or roll to your side. Use your hands to press yourself up to a seated pose. And we end much like we started. So sitting simply, nice and tall. And you can stay in that Shavasana for as long as you'd like. In fact, I recommend 5, 10, maybe even 15 or 20 minutes sometimes. Right now, we'll conclude our practice. Taking a deep breath in, reach up together through this virtual world, hands to your hearts. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope that you are having and finding activities to keep you busy, including yoga practice, and finding ways to stay stress-free during this crazy time. So thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you again very soon, and have a wonderful day. Namaste.